let's get this puppy started. We're gonna do the icebreaker. Everybody got their toys with them. So for me, I went ahead and I was like, all right, I'm gonna do the Charlie Brown, and my junk is the taxis. But I'm gonna cheat and throw a double up in because I just got these like 2 days ago, and so I'm on this whole black toe mission.
Hold on, I'll be right back.
Do it.
Look, you not playing fair, my guy. I didn't know we were supposed to bring our shoes.
Texted. I was like, yo, we gotta. Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's
I ain't
okay though.
Communicating properly.
I'm
terrible at communication. I know you got something on your feet.
You know I got something on my feet.
Let's go.
Yeah.
You know I got something on my feet. You know I ain't playing no games, bro.
I got Crocs on my feet. but I had those joints on earlier when I was out the house. But as soon as I come in the crib, I go straight Crocs.
Hey, the reason I like these, because you can wear any color with them.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It like you got purple, you got orange. Yeah, that fade joint, you got blue. So I had on some blue joggers because joggers, they're just the best for me these days, this stage of my life.
Yeah.
Not trying to put on no jeans. And when you're working on the stage and you changing inputs and you're underneath the studio desk,
I'm annoying with it, man. I don't. If you got the classic Briz. Dude, he got the man, yo, he got the daggone lost and found. See, that's the whole thing right there. And so the whole thing.
Sometimes you gotta flip it up,
Oh, come on, Percy. See, look.
I don't know why I did that to myself because I knew his shoe game was strong. You about to make me railroad this whole thing and just go to my closet, and I still know
this is what I'm trying to do, Percy. You not playing fair, bro.
Man.
I gotta go up 2 flights of stairs to go get my shoes, and I'm just not feeling it.
I'm about to open my window and throw my sneakers out right now. I'm hurt. But the whole point in even doing that was honestly because I think there's 2 things that we should really focus on pretty heavy outside of the questions I sent you, and that's community and culture. And I'm a huge proponent for building culture in church and community in your regions. So if you can go ahead, just in case some other people show up here, and throw the Houston and the Chicago link for the communities in those areas into the chat, because I can't send it because my whole little connectivity to my computer is not working right. So if you could take care of that for me, that'd be much appreciated. Excuse me. But on a culture level, like sneakerhead culture is a culture and is deeper than just being flashy with the sneakers, So when we start talking about church culture, it's different than being like, oh man, we got all of the lights and the cameras and everything else like that. When we dig deep into the whole side of culture, the culture has to be rooted in something that could go if everything else that'll stay if everything fades away. You know what I mean? And I love talking with you, Jamil, about culture. And so I want to hear Percy's input on culture. Tell me the church you at again, Percy.
Well, I'm at a church called the Reflections of Christ Kingdom. Acronym is ROCK, the ROCK Church.
Yep.
It's one church, 3 locations. And probably, man, the church's portfolio is probably bigger than any church I've seen in a long time. They own about 220 some acres of land that's undeveloped here.
Wow, that's bananas.
Yeah, and right now they're trying to decide. They've had Walmart, Target, and some others, and Marriott Hotel, and some others come and talk to them. But the pastor's background, this man is in. He's really a scholar, biblical scholar, but he also went to the Duke School of Finance.
I love it. I like financial people. I'm a financial person.
He's really heavy into finance and teaching finance and really, man, I've only been in church about 3 years now, but honestly, I can tell you, man, those people know the Bible like nobody else. Like, I have never been around this many people, man, that know the Bible the way they know the Bible. Like it's crazy.
So,
It's bananas.
and your role there is, again, are you the minister of the music or are you the creative pastor?
I'm the creative pastor, so I'm the director of executive director of worship and arts. So I do more of the creative stuff, oversee, impart, teach. Every now and then I'll play, I'll sing, or I might create something that if it's a particular service that we're trying to do and we're looking for something specific, I'll create something for that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
talk to me about, like, so you've been there for 3 years. Talk to me about what you've done as far as like building, like implementing culture, because you've been in this game for a long time. Like your history goes back to the Winans. And like does it go back further than that? Like tell me, like, yeah, you found Andre Crouch or something like that. Where did your history start?
Well,
He said
well,
founded Andre Crouch.
I founded Andre Crouch. No, Andre was my mentor, but
Uh-huh.
man, I'm a preacher's kid. I'm a PK. My dad was a pastor, and
Okay.
yeah, and so I grew up in the church, playing in the church. But I got my start musically though, with Milton Brunson and the Thompson Community Singers. That was
Yeah,
my
we
start.
going way back, man. And
Yeah,
so
with
you've been in this game a long time. So what do you think, like the Percy Bady, I take this with me where I go culture, if you can put it in like a couple of one-liners, what does that culture look like?
I think the first part would be, man, knowing what it is that you do well. Knowing what you do well, because I think part of what servitude in church has taught us is that we taught people how to serve, but we haven't taught them how to serve well. And
Mm,
you can't serve well if you don't know exactly what it is that you're good at. There's certain things you can teach, but I can't teach you how to be a sound man if you
right.
can't hear. If you can't hear, you can't be a great sound man. If you can't hear, you can't be a great singer. So being a part of the worship team is not for you. And so I think we have to do a better role. And I've been, since I've been here, my focus has been, first of all, understanding the culture. Is really trying to understand the culture here. Then taking what I've learned and saying, hey, if we sprinkle a little bit of this here and we sprinkle a little bit of this there, then maybe we can move the needle more towards where it is the shepherd's vision is. Because the most important thing for me is really following the shepherd's vision. At the end of the day, if I'm doing that, then I'm doing my job. But if that's not happening, then I'm not doing a very good job of stewarding the people that I'm leading.
Love it. So Jamil, I'm gonna shift back to you in a second to culture, but we're gonna jump into these questions. So I'm gonna start with you on the how did you get started in music production? Because I know Percy's story a little bit better than I know yours. I know who you've worked for, but I want to know how you got into the music production lane.
Man, I think all of us it starts with the obvious gift that that you have. And for me, the gift that I had was actually drums. And so I'll be honest.
I gotta catch that.
Yeah, I play a little bit of drums. And so I don't know if you saw a post the other day. I got some drum triggers.
Yep.
And so I was just testing them out, and everybody was hitting me up like, oh man, I didn't know you played drums. But I'm like huge on every pattern that you hear like in my music. And that's something that comes directly from me. And this is kind of something that I stick toward. Like I tell my drummers, all right, I think we need to live in this pattern because this is what I heard, and I don't want to deviate from that pattern. And so, but yeah, man, how I started off was drums, of course, like my big brother Percy. I'm a preacher's kid. And when you're a preacher's kid, you don't have an option to say no, I don't want to. There's no option. You have to do it. If your dad says get up and preach, you better know a scripture and you better know how to elaborate off that scripture. If dad says, go plunge the toilet, you go downstairs and you plunge the toilet.
See, I can plunge the toilet, but if somebody told me I had to preach, I'd be like, ooh, I'm gonna just get up there and talk until you tell me I can't stay up there no more.
what I learned is you just talk. And so my whole definition of a preacher was, oh, you have to hoop, you have to holler, you have to do this.
Right.
No, you got to speak truth, you know, and the truth
I can't preach.
Exactly. I'm the same way. So I'm a teacher, man. But, you know, cultivating my gift in the church, you know, gave me a lot of opportunities to sit under people and, you know, just kind of figure it out, man. And so I think what I think I like my first major sense of what production looked like. I got a chance to play with I don't know if you know Ricky Dillard.
Yeah.
Choir master.
I mean, I definitely know who Ricky Dillard is.
Ricky Dillard. He's a choir master and
the choir master. He just did that jump with Armando and them overseas. Was it in London? I can't remember if it was in London or like Switzerland or something like that, where it was like all the choir directors came through. Yeah, that was crazy. But yeah, he the choir master. Him and what's the boy from Brooklyn name?
Hezekiah Walker.
No. The other dude is like right below Hezekiah
Walker.
Oh,
you're talking about James
Hall. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I ain't seen James Hall in forever. But I kind of grew up in Hezekiah's church.
Did you? So you know him good. That's good, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I remember getting paid like $15 to do sound every time he wanted to do a show.
$15, man.
Then I elevated to 50 with somebody else that I ain't gonna name.
$50, man. That's beautiful.
It was hard times. Had to pay for your own food too.
When you're young, you really look at that as a come up, man. When you know you don't have a car and everybody else don't have a job and you got a little skill set and you making $50, $75 a week at 15 years old, you actually doing good, you know. But yeah, so I was playing, I got an opportunity from actually my big bro. His name is Kevin Randolph. Okay. And so if you know Kevin Randolph, he is just Google him. I mean, he is actually the one that showed me and taught me what music production looks like. You know, I was attracted to him because he's a musician. He was one of my favorite keyboard players. And he took me to a studio session. I can't remember I think it was for Ramsey Lewis, but Ramsey wasn't in the room. Kevin came to do his part. Ramsey wasn't in the room. So Kevin came to lay pianos because he played keys and all that stuff for Ramsey. So rest in peace, Ramsey. He was a big deal for all of us. But so it was Kevin Randolph, man. He showed me what production looks like. And I said, like, I want to do this. I want to take, I was probably like 16, 17. Yeah. And Kevin's not too much older than me. He might have me by a couple years. So he'd been doing this for a long time. And so he took me to I think it was CRC Studios in Chicago. That was my first time ever walking into a major studio. And just like my hairs on my arms just stood up. Like everything about the smell, the look, the keyboards, the gear, the mixers, I could not stop thinking about that moment. Like, you know, once you find that thing, it's going to grab you, it's going to take hold of you and you can't shake it, you know, and I could not shake it. And so Kevin's how I got started, man.
Yo, I see we have a similar story, but I was really impatient. And so I wanted to be a producer. You know, I wanted to like run my own little hip hop thing. And I got connected with Stevie J and at Bad Boy and was like, yo, I'm gonna make beats. And he kept telling me my beats suck. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna go get my MBA and work on Wall Street instead. And like all of the other little dots connect and a lot of other things that I don't really want to talk about on this one.
Do your beats still suck, bro? Or did you learn from that?
I mean, I have a machine behind me that's collected dust for like the past 4 years. So I don't know if I'm gonna try because I want to actually do it for my son. Because I think my son's got a lot of talent coming up, you know. A fellow that we all know and love, rest in peace, Paris. But Paris came in and showed my son a couple of songs, man. And I don't know if the anointing just flowed over, but my son just played 10 days straight this theme song at a worship conference, like not a worship conference, like a worship retreat up in the mountains where our house is. And he was like, like, adamant to like play it. And so we figured out the way to like chart it out for him and everything like that. And he practiced for like 3 weeks straight. He was like, I want to play. And it was really competitive to start. So my niece had a bell set and she figured it out on the bell set, and they wrote down which thing you had to hit. And he was like, I'm gonna play the piano. He had to one her up. And so he put in the work to do it. And so we let him do it because it wasn't nothing like flamboyant and fabulous. It was a bunch of old people up in the middle of nowhere. And so he played every night, and I recorded it. And I was like, he's actually pretty good. But the thing that really shocked me was right before we went up, I went into this drum store. They had invited me to talk about doing a podcast. And while I was talking to the person at the store, I hear this like steel pan jump start happening. I was like, oh, y'all playing the reggae music up in here? And he was like, no, that's your son. I was like, oh, wait, excuse me, and went over and recorded it and sent it to my wife. I was like, I guess I gotta buy him a steel pan drum, huh? So like, but I'm just like super inspired by him being inspired. And I remember being able to pour stuff out to my nephew. And so my nephew's still in Brooklyn, and he's doing all kind of stuff musically, man. He plays a lot behind this dude that was on American Idol, like season 12, made it to like number 4, named Kasim Middleton, I think is the kid's name. And so he plays a lot behind him, and they do like Afro punk and whatnot. Real Afrobeat level music with a little bit of rock entwined into it. And he always give me the credit for it. And I'm like, man, I showed you how to push 3-4 keys and hit record, and you figured it out. And I helped you a little bit along the way, but it's just that little nudge. And so I'm like, if my son got the nudge, man, about to turn this machine back on to go get some stuff. You know, we living in a different level where it's like, all right, it might go to waste, but it's worth the try. So I'm gonna learn how to make beats again. And I got some other friends that still make beats around here, and then Brett here. So Brett was here like 2 days ago. That played in with Paris with Tiny Spicy Chicken.
Oh yeah, I remember him. Yep.
Yeah, he's a beast, man.
Yep.
I still go back and look at that video of him and Corey Henry playing together and just feel like he's a problem, dude. He was like, that was like 10 years ago, and he was a problem then. You on a whole nother plane right now. Sweet. So I got that in. Purse, same question. I'm gonna repeat it here for the audience. How did you get into producing music, man?
I got into producing music. First of all, Jamel, what a story, man. What a story, man. Kevin Randolph.
You know Kevin.
Kevin's great people, man. Good people, man. I've spent some time with Kevin. Kevin worked with me on a couple records as well.
Yes, you have.
Yolanda Adams record and maybe Youth Edition.
Wow. Youth Edition.
Yep, I think he worked with me on those 2 records. Yeah, man. But I got into production, Tone, out of necessity. I was into writing songs. My passion was writing songs. I was really about writing songs. I mean, everything was studying songs, but I used to go to the library quite a bit. And there was a library about 4 blocks from my house. And in the library, they had records, like old records, like a record player, vinyl. Like you would go in there, man, and they had all these records. And inside the hall, they had like these piano rooms with record players in the piano room. And so I used to go and take records and go in the piano room and play them. And I started liking, there was a few records that I really started gravitating to, and I started reading the credits. I became this guy that became very infatuated with credits.
Yeah.
And so while reading the credits, I saw this one name that kept coming up on a few records, and that name was Quincy Jones. And so, man, I was like, man, this guy is doing everything. And I'm talking about, man, he was doing like The Pawnbroker, the soundtrack to The Pawnbroker, but then he's got, this record he did with Frank Sinatra. And then, then there was a record he did with Brothers Johnson. So there was like all these different records. And I'm like, man, he's like a producer's producer. He's like a real producer. And I was like, man, I think I'd like to do that. But man, I don't even know where to start because my passion was songs. And so what started happening was I was submitting songs to different artists, and then I would hear the songs. They would let me hear the songs, man, and I didn't like how they sounded.
Fair enough.
So because So
I
our
don't like
songs,
that. Try this. I don't like what you did right there. Try this.
right. Our songs are like our babies, you know. They're like our babies, man. Would you send your baby out in 10 below weather with no coat on, you know,
Mm,
or 100-degree weather with a coat? No, you don't. You
that's
know,
right.
and I just felt like the songs they weren't treated right. So I just started learning production, man, and a guy gave me an opportunity. A guy named Gloucester Williams. He's a blind guy, and he fell in love with my songs, and he gave me my first opportunity to produce with him on a record. And when that happened, man, the rest was history, man. I started getting the opportunity to produce other things, and I had a little leverage because I could write a song. I can write a good song, and
Right.
so because I could write the good song, I would, make that disclaimer. Look,
Yep.
hey, I want to produce my own song. You know, let me produce my own song. I know it'll come out the way, it needs to come out. Instead of, feeling like you gave your baby away and it comes back to
Mhm.
you, you know, looking like somebody else's baby. Yeah.
Man, so I'm trying to figure out because I feel like do you work in church? I answered that question already with both of y'all. I think I just prefaced that and moved the questions around out of their order. So we both know both of y'all work in church. Well, I guess you didn't say it technically, but you're at Calvary in Naperville up in Chicago, one of my favorite spots to go. It's my
Yep.
little second home in Chicago because
Yeah,
y'all
we
just
love
be
you up there.
bopping. Y'all just be bopping. I be going there like, man, I'm like, is that the snare, the actual sound of the snare on the stage? Yeah, it gives me that CCN mixed with gospel feel. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, man.
Um, but let me go back to my questions. I was getting ready to post on social media. I was hoping Percy would talk a couple more seconds that we was live. Um, so to you, Mr. Dontaniel Kimbrough, Mr. Kim Up CEO.
My friends call
Dude,
me Jamel. You good?
I'm good. Jamel, I asked permission if I can still call you Jamel through text message. I'm like, you changed the name. I want to be respectful.
No,
You,
listen.
you can't never
Can
be
I?
too cool with somebody to not respect their wishes and honor them. If
I
we
get
friends,
it.
we got to honor each other. You feel me?
I
My
get
name's
it,
Anthony.
man.
I refuse. If you call me Anthony, I'm gonna be livid. I'm like, nah, my name's Tone.
Yeah. I'm gonna give you a story about that, man. Why the change is I got another big bro, and that's one thing about me. I honor the people that has taught me. I honor Percy, like Percy, honored for years. I've got another big brother, Asaph Ward, and we were doing some business together, and he's like, why don't you use your first name? Like, what's so bad about it? I said, well, first of all, nobody gets it right. It's always butchered. I'm Donatello. I'm D'Artagnan from the Three Musketeers.
I'm gonna do that.
I'm everything but my name. And so just growing up, I just said, call me Jamel. And so they've done that. And so Asaph said to me, he's like, I know a whole bunch of Jamels, but I don't know not one Dontaniel. He said, use the name God gave you, man. And so like that triggered something in me. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay,
if Asaph said it, I'm doing it too. If Asaph started telling me to call
yeah.
myself Anthony, call myself Anthony. While we're on the topic of Asaph, for if you heard the Elevation, Patrick, if you heard the Elevation album, I can't remember which one it is, but in my personal opinion, the best Elevation album EP to ever come out was produced by Asaph. The joint was a whole like,
You talking about Asaph Ward?
yeah. I'm gonna Google it. I'm gonna ask you another question and I'm gonna Google it and then I'm gonna come back and interrupt you. So what's your approach to making music, man?
Listen, man, I've learned that I don't force it anymore because forcing it is not authentic to me anymore. I don't force it. I just, when it comes, I make sure that I get it out as natural as possible. I'll tell artists, however it came to you first, 9 times out of 10, that's what it is. But we make it so difficult by overproducing or thinking about everybody else's perception of what you hear. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. And I used to go wrong that way. I used to make music for everybody else, and I never made it for myself. And once I started being true to me, like I don't deviate from who I am. So yeah, man, if I'm in the room, it just naturally comes to me. And normally I would sketch out a piano track of the sequence. And then from there, I start building rhythms. So like I told you, I'm a drummer. And so I'll start finding rhythms. And after my rhythms, this is where melody comes. This is where syncopated melody comes, you know, just at a piano structure and drum patterns. That kicks off my melodic ear. And then I can write melodies. I can write lyrics to that. So, you know, that's kind of how I get started. And then I'll send it off and, you know, we'll finish writing the song. And then I kind of marry it. And now I cover everything around that melody, that syncopation, that lyric. I color around that. So if you hear me, my productions, I'm not like a super piano guy. So if you listen to my music, piano is tucked under my music. I don't have it. I'm a piano player. And most times, if you're a piano player, that instrument or whatever instrument you play is that's right, Percy, it's going to stay out front. And that's always been a thing for me. I never wanted that piano to stick out front. I would tuck it in. And so what that did is it made me have to create things that fill the song up without being able to identify what it is. If you take out something, you'll say something's gone, but you won't be able to know what it was, you know? And so that's kind of how I've built my production, where I don't want anything defined specifically. I just want you to feel it. Like my music is about, like, I feel it. It feels great. It's not ear candy. It's a feeling to it. So, I mean, and it goes on and on, man. I can talk about the vocal process if you want, but that's how I get my vocal process.
Talk about the vocal process. Because gospel vocal process is way different.
It's different.
And I would love to see some of that education come into the CCM world, because I think the greatest struggle sometimes is the fact that like people can't find that harmony part. And like that gospel, like we're talking about choirs and having to take hundreds of voices and put them together and make them sound like one thing, but with the texture of the baritone, the tenor, the countertenor. Like if you get real detailed, man, you got 13 parts in there.
You do. You do. I think the best producers, and I know Percy will agree with this, the best producers know who to get in the room. Like I think that's my strongest attribute as a producer. I know who to call because I know where I'm weak. And so I'm not a singer. I'm a musician that knows my notes and scales. I know textures. I know when it's wrong, but I'm not a singer. And so I would have a singer in the room to help me, you know, navigate that vocal that I'm looking for. So I get people in the room, man, you know, but I'm working on an artist right now. And I'll give you an example. The artist sends me a voice note. You know, I tell artists all the time, don't send me a song you want me to produce that was already produced. I'm not going to touch it. I send it right back. I don't want nothing to do with that, because a lot of people don't know the industry and they don't understand that if I reproduce your song, I didn't write it. I didn't arrange it. I just reproduced it. So I'm going to get the production credit, but I'm not going to get the writing credit. I'm not going to get the arranging credit. I will take the production credit though. And I just don't want any problems because people just misunderstand the roles of songwriting and production, you know? So I tell artists, don't send me a song just send me a voice note with nothing on it. Maybe if you play piano, give me a chord reference, send me that. I drop it in my session. I build a piano track around that melody, because I need to make sure everything that surrounds that melody makes sense. You know what I mean? And then I'll bring the artist in and we'll develop some demo harmonies. So just me and the artist, by ourselves, we would demo where the background should sit, where they feel comfortable having backgrounds, what range, you know, what octave they should be in. This is where I figure that out with the artist. And then after that, this is when I come in with my background vocal team. And again, I call floaters. And what I call floaters is singers that can sing every pitch. You know, because the way I record is I'll record in sections. So everybody will sing alto. We'll do a few times stacks of alto, a few times tenor and soprano, because I don't like one voice being identified. Back to my pet peeve. I don't want to know or hear anybody specific or any instrument specific.
Just that in itself was like the nugget for me right there. So I said I was going to interrupt you, and I'm going to interrupt you. Elevation, it's the Elevation Collective, the Evidence album. It's got like this joint on it, where Tasha Cobbs does "Here As in Heaven."
I'm
gonna send it to you. Yo, hearing Asaph on keys.
I didn't know he did that record, so that's crazy.
It took me a minute. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't figure it out. I had to text a keyboard player, asking him that I knew, like, that's my like reference. You my encyclopedia. I was like, yo, what joint was ASAP on? He was like, The Collective. And it took him like 2 seconds. He didn't have to look it up. I'm sitting here like Googling ASAP Awards / Elevation. Couldn't find it. He gave it to me right away. I'll ping it to y'all once I'm done, because that joint's fire.
Yeah, I heard
it's got Ty on it. It's got like Israel
Travis
on it.
Yep.
Yeah, that joint's a whole vibe. So Percy, man, I have watched you many a night. I don't know how you be staying up all night like that, but when you get in the vibe, you just be like playing stuff, and it'll go from like one part to like all of the other little details, and so people can steal your cheat code. But what's your process, man? Like, I've kind of watched it come out, but it's so detailed and solid that I just need to understand, like what, like, open up that brain and let us in.
Hey, so I'm first of all, I gotta repeat something that Jamel said that I think is really apropos, and that's that Quincy Jones, man, doesn't play an instrument like he used to play. He doesn't play, he played a little bit of piano, but his instrument was trumpet. And so, but when he did all those records, and he did that stuff with Michael Jackson and James Ingram, Patty Austin, his genius was he knew who to call in the room. He knew the right people to call. He served the song.
Yes, sir.
Basically, he served the song. That's one of the things he shared with me in a meeting I had with him, a by chance meeting I had. He shared with me, it's all about serving the song.
Wasn't you just at his birthday party?
Yeah, I just went out there.
I'm not gonna lie, I was hating. I was mad.
Hey, man, it was a great time. I can't even put it into words, man, what it meant to be there, man, to celebrate him like that, man, and to hear all of that music. And it was great, man, and to be amongst. I even met one of the people that I follow, who's like, I think he's a vocal producing like genius. He did Trey Songz and some other folks. His name is Troy Taylor. I met him, man, there, and it was absolutely amazing. I'm calling him legend. He calling
you legend. That's right.
So on that level, they kind of give you that kind of respect. But for me, when you see me on those lives, Tone, man, I kind of tap in until I'm out, till I'm tapped out. So basically, I don't think people understand the importance of seizing the moment. Like, I'm an ear hustler too. So, when I go places and I'm, wherever I'm at, man, my ears are always akin, listening for ideas or something that's going to inspire me, right? But once I go to work on it, and if it's flowing, I'm gonna beat it up until it ain't there. But if it ain't there, I'm walking away. I ain't gonna try to force it, you know. Like Jamil said, I'm not forcing and I'll lay back. But, you know, for me, and you mentioned about cheat code, man. Let me tell you something. I don't mind sharing all of what I use, what I do, how I do it, because they're never gonna do it the way I do it. So,
That's right.
you know, I can tell you everything. I can tell you what effects. I can tell you what drum sounds. I can tell you what keyboard sounds, all of that. I can give it all to you. You can have it because our brains work differently, you know, and so when it comes to being creative, it's a different kind of thing, you know. You know, copying can be flattering, you know, but then, you know, who are you at the end of the day? When you get done copying, who are you?
Yeah.
You know, because that's what people want to really know. Who are you authentically, you know? And so I can mimic certain things and probably, man, probably 80, maybe 85% of the stuff I'm playing is going to be replaced. You know?
Yeah.
I'm gonna find real players. I'm gonna find, you know, the people that really do. Like, if it really something that really feels special, I'll leave it there, because if I take it away and it don't feel the same, then I know I need to keep that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like those parts that Marsha sung on like Michael's songs, and people didn't even realize like that it was her. And I think there's a jump like on Justin's too, where she's doing the part and people didn't realize that it wasn't him, but it was her. So yeah, I get that leaving the thing. If it's special, leave it there.
Leave it.
Leave it there, man. Leave it. You know, the thing is that music is it's communication.
Yeah.
Music is communication, and based upon what you're trying to communicate, man, you know, you got to know what, you know. I remember somebody talking to me about Prince's drum programming one time, and they said, man, it's kind of corny. I said, okay, let's take his drums away. They said, what do you mean? Let's take it away. I said, if you could take his drums away, take his drums away. Let's see what the song sounds like without those drums that you call corny. You know, that's like saying, take the Dirty Diana guitar solo away and let's see if it's still Dirty Diana.
Wow.
Yeah, there's too many songs in the world like that right now that have that kind of value, you know. While we on the topic of songs, because I know like both you guys got tons and tons of accolades and awards. So I'm gonna kick up to Jamil real quick. And like, is there a song that's a favorite of yours but you don't got an award for it?
Yes, sir. It's crazy. It's an artist that I helped develop from Chicago. His name, he doesn't live there no more. He moved to California, but his name is Kevin Gray. And he did this song called Nobody Else in My Ear. That was the name of the song, because he was going through this struggle, you know, relationship struggle. And, you know, but that song is actually one of my favorite songs. And it is so simple. Honestly, it was a sample guitar that I pulled out of Apple Loop. And I built around a sample guitar. And like Percy said, if it worked, leave it. If it's special, leave it. I don't care if it is a sample. And so that song, like, really, I think that song specifically developed my production style. I mean, well, that, and then also where I serve too at church, you know, because I'm like Percy, I'm an executive at my church now of live production and worship. And my church is multicultural and multi-ethnic, you know, and so there's a lot of different expressions in my church. And I've always had the hard task of getting someone to appreciate another style, you know, and I think me having to navigate through that developed my production chops. Like, okay, I want my record, I want a country artist to like it, as well as a straight up heavy, you know, gospel singer. I want everybody to connect to my songs. And so there's something special about, you know, being forced into an environment where you had to curate a sound that everybody can appreciate, you know. And so, but yeah, nobody else in my ear, go listen to it. I'll sing you the record. It's one of my favorite.
Yeah,
you know that song, Percy?
Yep, great record. Great record. I didn't know you did it though.
Yep.
That was a great record, man. I thought it was a career identifying for him, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I ain't heard from him in a while. Is he okay?
He's okay, man. Life hit him real good. You know how that happens. And some people can, you know, pull back quickly. You know, life hit both of us, Percy. We know. And, you know, when you strong and you just know what you're here for, life can't put, you know, take me down. Like I'm stronger than what life can give me, bro. Like, because I know my purpose. I know why God created me. You know, I was created on purpose, man. And so can't no situation change my direction, man. And so life is going to happen to us all, bro. I mean, when I heard about your story, yeah, when I heard about Percy's story, when he told me before he shared it to the world, like I cried. I'm just like, are you kidding me? You know, but look at him right now. It didn't kill him. He's still at it. He's still making #1 records, still working with some of the biggest artists in the world, you know, but life hit him real good, you know, and that inspired me, you know, because I know what I was here for. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, even when I first started serving in church, man, I can't say that I had that like 100% that I knew that. And I'm gonna come back and circle back to that. But I don't want to make it cause a distraction in the middle of the conversation right now. But that did, like, you woke my whole spirit up with that truth right there. Percy, I'm trying to figure out how if I want to change up the question a little bit and then come back to Jamil and answer it a little different. So, but now I'm gonna ask it straight up to you the same way. So do you have a favorite song? Excuse me. Do you have a favorite song that you did not get an award for?
Of course, every songwriter does. Mine's is Smokey Norfolk's "I Understand."
I'm about to punch you in the head. He said Smokey. That's just a cheat code. He said Smokey.
Let me say this. Let me preface that by saying this. And Smokey will tell you this. He got a Grammy for the record, but he'll tell you the reason why he got the Grammy for the record was because of my song, which took the record, you know, to urban radio. That I Understand was a crossover radio hit, urban radio hit. And
that's on the same record with I Need You Now?
That's the second record.
Okay.
I Need You Now is the first record. The second record, they led with a single called Power, and it was tanking. And immediately they went to I Understand, and it caught on at gospel radio, and a urban AC guy named Elroy Smith, a legendary radio guy, heard the song and it hit him in his gut, and he trusted his gut, and he played it on urban radio, and they went crazy. Urban radio went bananas about it, and it went crazy, went viral, went crazy, man. Went viral back then. And I felt like it was a song that should have gotten a Grammy, but it didn't. But the record got the Grammy, but it got it because of the song. You know, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the 50% rule inside of the Academy, but the Academy has a 50% rule where if you're not involved in a record 50% or better, you don't get a trophy.
That's terrible.
Trash. I mean, they trying to change up the rules. Who's up in there right now that's like really working? Is it what's the bass player's name?
Harvey Mason Jr. Harvey Mason Jr. is the new president. Unfortunately, though, it's so much minutia that was already there before him that he's unpacking.
Inherited.
he just inherited a bunch of stuff, man, and it's just tough for him to unpack a bunch of stuff because it already existed, man. You know, then they've gotten rid of some of the principles that I thought legitimately held them accountable. You know, and so it's a little different, man. And no, it's a lot different. You know, if your last name is Franklin, and you know, inside of the gospel category in the Grammys, you're gonna win.
You're gonna win.
It don't matter whose record is in it.
Not at all.
I was thinking of Adam Blackstone. I was talking to Adam like a couple months ago, and he was talking about the whole process of like him coming in and like really teaming up with them and how they work in the fight to change some of the rules and how things happen in voting wise. And so I didn't know how much you had an insight on that.
I don't. You know, if Adam is doing that, hats off to him. But I know Harvey. I know Harvey Mason Jr. Because at one point I was going to be a part of the Underdogs.
Man.
But I know Harvey, and Harvey's a good guy. But unfortunately, like I said, he's inherited some practices that have been pretty bad. And you know, I don't know how much you know about the previous guy and one of the girls that worked there, but you know, she tried to sue the Academy, and I don't know if you know all of that stuff that went down, but it was a bunch of stuff.
I'll be paying attention. It's crazy. And so that's where it kind of like, how did I word it on the little slide? Hold on a second. Where's it at?
Yeah, Percy, this is first I heard of the 50-50. That's
oh yeah, man. You know, that's why when people ask me how many Grammys I have, I tell them I have 7. I tell them I have 7, right? And they go, well, can I see them? I say, well, no, you can't see them, but I have 7. Yeah. And then they go, well, how can you say you got 7? And I'll say, here's why.
Here's why. This is what I was a part of.
This is what I was a part of. You know, like I got my certificates and stuff, but truth of the matter is that when you know you're involved with a record that would not have the success that it has without your involvement, and they want to put a 50% rule on you, man, forget that.
That's not fair, bro.
Yeah, that's trash. So what I had written on the slide to promote this, I sent it to Patrick, and Patrick must have liked it enough that he used it. I was like, man, hit songs don't need awards, but y'all both got them. Man, and so if we got to cut this part out, we got to cut this part out. But I'm curious, man. I've never heard the whole full story. Can you break down the whole the myth and the legend behind I Believe?
No, let's say the whole name of the song.
I believe I can fly. I was trying to filter it so that we could not, just in case we was getting ready to get in trouble and had to, like, they was gonna shut the internet down.
Ain't no myth on that one, bro.
I know ain't no myth, but I was myth. I was trying to filter it. So I believe I can fly, Percy, go.
So basically, I Believe I Can Fly was a co-write, right? Rob only had a portion of the song.
And we say Rob, you mean R. Kelly?
I mean R. Kelly.
Okay.
I referred to Rob because I never called him R. Kelly.
Because you were there before he was R. Kelly.
You know, I mean, I mean, at times I even called him Robert. You know, but we co-wrote that song in a hotel lobby in Detroit, Michigan, the last night of the first leg of our tour. We were going home. He never told me what the song was for. He just said we had to finish it right away. And when we got back to Chicago, we had to go in the studio, record it. Now, typically, Rob would play his own, he would program his own drums. He had broke his hand playing basketball, so he couldn't program no drums. I ended up programming drums. I played bass synth on the record. I played all the keys on the record. I did the choral arrangements on the record. I even co-produced his lead vocal with my brother Ray Bady on that record. Went to Detroit, cut the orchestra with the legendary, oh man, what's the Motown guy? I can't even think of his name. But went to Detroit, worked with him, cut that, flew back to Chicago. That whole process was 7 days, man.
Wow.
I may have slept 6 hours in 7 days, maybe. Like literally.
I mean, I wouldn't sleep if I was working on a junk that was like that. Like even if it wouldn't have got where it went to, that junk's a hit.
But you didn't know who was for though, Percy, right? You just knew it was high priority.
I had no clue. I had no clue. Let me tell you when I found out. I found out when the record got turned in. Stephen George, who mixed the record at Battery Studios in Chicago, by the way. Stephen George mixed the record. We turned the record in, and the label called and said, Atlantic Records said that it was the best and the biggest song that they had ever heard, right? So I said, Atlantic Records. I was like, Stephen George said, you don't know? I said, no, what's good? He said, man, this is for Space Jam. This is for the Michael Jordan movie. I said, what? He said, yeah, man, this is for Space Jam. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay. Now, that's where I have to cut the story off because there's some legal stuff.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
I didn't know if the story could even be told at all because I knew about the legal stuff.
They asked me not to say nothing, but they can't stop me because what you gonna do? Sue me?
Right.
So now all of that said, I'm gonna keep it a buck. It's a great song, and you deserve your honors and your flowers for that song. But for me, like I went down this deep dive of Percy Bady songs and was on a plane to LA and was like, all I listened to was stuff that you produced. And man, dude, I'm just gonna live on the whinings. Like having that whining stuff, whoo. And then I'm gonna stop there and then we're gonna jump over to Jamil. Because Jamil, tell me the story. Because I think we talked about it the one day we was at Raising Cane's, like when we first sat down and talked. But fill me in again, like not even again, like refresh my memory because I feel like I'm getting old because I done forgot. How did you get hooked up with, and I don't even know which artist to choose because I'm a major Leon Timbo fan. Like I'm like begging dude, like, yo, how much I gotta pay you to come down here and do a show? And Manny, so my homeboy Manny on here right now, and Manny the one that put my wife down to him that she played a song in the car, and I was like, who that? And she was like, yeah, Manny sent this to me. But anyways, so I'm gonna go to Todd Dulaney though. How did you start working with Todd Dulaney? Because I think that's for me, that's where I really found out who you were.
Yeah. I think Todd and I, man, we both were in a under the radar, but there was a label that came to Chicago and wanted to, kind of sign everybody to a record deal / pub deal / we don't know what the deal was. But either way, we all got in the same room. And so there was a publishing catalog that he was trying to create. And when the label signed me, I was signed as a writer, producer. And so when you do catalogs, of course, you turn in your music, you submit what you got, you work on records, and you turn it in, and so it went to a catalog, a hard drive, and Todd was actually signed to that label as a songwriter artist. And every song that he chose out of the catalog that he had access to, out of 15 producers or so, every song he chose was my record. I hadn't met him. He hadn't met me, didn't know his name. I didn't know who a Todd was. I didn't know he existed. He didn't know who I was, but just by coincidence, he chose the records that I produced. And I would come back to the studio and I'm like, who is this? He would demo the records. And I'm like, who is this guy? Like, he's special. We kind of connected without even, meeting each other. And so But we heard each other. We finally met each other at the studio one day. We just crossed paths and say, so you the guy that I'm writing all the, to your music and your catalog? I'm like, you the guy that's writing to my stuff? Like, what's going on? And so we actually connected, man, off the grid. And I kind of locked arms with him at that point, and I'll give you a story, man. His very first song we did, I didn't write that song, but he wrote it, and it's his song that identified him, as Percy said. It was called Pulling Me Through. And so that song translated, it just worked. And I'm so glad the song was a good song, because the production on the original version of that was a demo, 100% demo, like keyboard bass, man. You ever heard bass sounds out of a Logic? You ever heard guitar sounds out of Logic? Yes, I used Logic. Was my guitars on that song, bass, and one of my best friends, he's a drummer. We didn't know no patterns or anything. He came in, Todd was like, let him play the song, let him play. I was like, he can't do it with the song not ready. So he said, just let him play. So I let him play. He had no pattern. Like he just got in there and played. And then I had to go back and actually create a drum pattern for that demo to make sense. So I chopped them up. I moved the kick around. I pulled the snare out. I did so much to that record just for a demo. And the label and I got into an altercation, which it happens all the time. And he told me, after he heard the demo, he said, give me that song. I said, well, give me a budget so I can finish producing it. And the label was like, well, he doesn't have a budget. I said, what do you mean? He's an artist. Give me a budget so I can make this man's song. So they would not use it. So we got into it. And he's like, give me the hard drive. It's my hard drive. And let me make a note right there. Don't ever let nobody force you into giving a song away when it's not ready. Like, let them wait, because once it goes out, you can't take it back. I learned my lesson that day. Let them wait on when you're mix ready, and so that's how I learned my lesson, because he took that demo and released it. He released that demo, and I cried when I heard it, because at about if you go back and listen to that song, about 4 minutes and 30 seconds, I knew we were done with the record. When you demo, I'm like, okay, about 4:30, I'm a fade to hit about 4:15. So they went and got it mixed. And so literally I dropped out of the keyboard. I stopped playing keys toward the end of the song. And then about a couple seconds later, you hear the bass line stop. And then a few more seconds later, you hear like guitar stop and some backgrounds go. They kept all of that on the stinking song, man. And I cried, because I thought my career was over as it began. I said, man, they'll never call me again. But that was a huge lesson for me. I said, this will never happen to me again. I will never turn a record in that's not ready. They will wait. They push records back all the time. They push straight dates back all the time. They can give you a hard date, but it's never hard. You have the leverage as the producer. The record is in your hands. And so you make sure you give them what you want them to have. And so, yeah, that's my story with Todd, man. And we locked arms ever since, man. I helped him get the deal with E1. We did his first live album, and Your Great Name, we actually wrote that together, and that's actually one of my biggest songs that didn't get an award. It didn't even get nominated. And so I'll keep that to myself, but I'm happy the song worked for the body, for the world. Yeah. And that's all that matters to me, because I didn't get an award, that's fine. But I said, I'm going to be myself no matter what. I'm not going to make a record just for radio's sake or just for award's sake. I'm just going to be me. I'm going to be 100% honest with who I am and what I got to say. And if it doesn't win an award, that's okay.
Yeah, I've kind of been in that. Sorry.
No, I would say I would do music for nothing. That's how much I love music. You don't have to, I would do it. I would do it, and I will do it to the day I leave this earth. You know what I mean? And so I don't do it for awards, accolades, or anything like that. I do it because I love it. And another friend of mine told me, he said he makes music for that person that's sitting in a room ready to end it all. When he makes a record, he's thinking about the guy that's ready to end his life. And so whatever he pours into that production, you know, he wants that to be translated to that person that's sick, that person, you know, that's going through. Dr. Tony Evans, when he lost his wife, this blessed my soul. When he lost his wife, the song that she listened to as she passed away was Victory Belongs to Jesus by Todd. She kept looping it, and she passed away, you know. And so right there, I mean, I said, okay, I'm going to always be true to what I have to say and what I'm doing here. And so, yeah, man, I can go on and on, but I'll stop.
Yeah, nah, I love it, man. What I was going to say was, on a similar kind of vibe, like, I feel like too many people, like, I'm a sound engineer, so too many people are stuck on, like, man, I'm only going to let people hear the mix that's like phenomenal with the major artists and whatever may be the case. And now here we can't put out the mixes from some of these major artists because they protect their brand too close. But how do I put out a resource that can actually be a blessing and somebody can learn from? And so I've started putting out from the smallest church that I actually work for rather than the biggest church. I started putting out the mixes and the live streams from the smallest ones and being really humble and transparent with it. Like, man, what can we do to make this mix better? Because I'm doing the foundation and then handing it off, and somebody's riding the fadas and learning how to run transitions and stuff and working them through the process. And like, man, we start with gain staging. And I had people that was like, yo, you gonna put that out there like that? And then I also had other people that was like, I would dream of my mix sounding like this. And I'm sitting there like, those are the people, I'm after the one, not the 99. I'm not out here after the people that got all the fancy equipment and everything else like that. I'm out here after the people that might not even have a Behringer X32, you know, because those are the people that get left and they get stuck and be isolated and don't have no resources and access. And they're like, oh man, how do I translate your digicode to my X32 or to my little Mackie 14 FX12 or whatever may be the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I get it with that. Percy, drop us what advice would you have for somebody that was like an up and coming producer? I feel like Jamil threw his in there already. Like, don't let the record go until the record's ready.
Well, that was a good one. That's a good one, man. The advice I would give, man, is to know, be willing to spend the time, to put the time in. And what I mean by that is this. There are a lot of people out here with the name producers. So let me just say, there's a bunch of records out here that has people's names on it that says producers. But if you ask them to turn down 2K, you know, or give me a little 200, give me a little more in the mid, you know, they wouldn't know what to do, right? And the truth of the matter is that the true test of a producer is knowing how to manage the situation, whether it requires something technical, whether it requires something emotional, whether it requires something mental. Because producers are called, man, to sometimes we are psychiatrists.
Oh yeah.
You know, sometimes, you know, we work with people who, you know, they'll tell you they're good at what they do, but they'll tell you, well, I don't think I do this very well. And so as a producer, you gotta know how to move them from I don't think I know how to do this very well to them doing it exceedingly abundantly above what they even imagine it could be. And that takes a thought process, that takes intentionality, it takes gauging, it takes being able to gauge where the artist is in order to understand where the artist needs to go. And then another thing would be study those who came before you, because study the right ones though. Study the ones who have been successful. Study the ones who have proven that they understand what it means to be a producer, because a producer is not a guy sits in the seat and says, do it over. That's not what a producer does. He's responsible for basically delivering a commercial product to a label. And so that means he's got to know the right people to call. He's got to know the right studio to use. He's got to know how to manage money. He's got to know the right mastering guy, the right mix guy for whatever the genre may be. He's got to know all of these things. And then even after that, then he has to know how to place himself in a position where when the record does well, he does well. Because most producers, because we have servants' hearts, most times we get left in the dust, you know, and so it's really important that you understand that if the record wins or does well, you should do well and you should win as well. Yeah. Because it was your input, after all, that helped that record to get that status. I've been downplayed my whole career, and it don't bother me. I've been downplayed
too, brother.
My whole career. I've been downplayed, but it don't bother me. I'm gonna tell you why it don't bother me. Because I've learned this, man. Sometimes God saves the best things for last, and He never lets faithfulness go unrewarded. My heart has always been turned towards Him and His people, and because of that very reason, man, I am starting to see some things now that I thought I would never see, but it's starting to happen. And so, trust me, the rest of this year and moving forward, I have pivoted. I've totally pivoted, and I know it was something that, man, was prophesied to me when I was a young kid. I never forgot the prophecy. My mom used to tell me always, she say, stay low and God, He can trust you if you stay low. And so I kept a humble disposition. I always, I walk low on purpose. It's not an act. I walk low on purpose.
Yes.
But for some of us, walking low on purpose has caused a lot of us to miss some things. And so sometimes, because we don't toot our own horns, you know, Jamel walk around. I've never heard Jamel toot his own horn. I never heard him brag. I never heard him boast. I don't brag. I don't boast.
Nope.
And so
Jamil be back in the cut, and I be trying to help him with the social media. I be like, dude, let me help you with your social media, because you need to be at like 100K.
I need that help too. I need it too.
We both do.
I got both of y'all, man. Y'all been a blessing to my life, man.
I mean, I need it too, bro. But I just know, man, that without a shadow of a doubt, man, that God will never let people who've been faithful in service, man, to go without. You know, He would be a liar if He did that.
Right.
He wouldn't be.
Yeah, we don't need that credit from man. As long as we know God got us, He's elevating us to where He wants us to be. And maybe at times man might not be elevating us. I just was texting somebody earlier and I was like, man, yo, I'm kind of at the point where I don't want to ever use, like, publicly in this kind of format here or post on social media anything major artist wise that I'm working with. I would rather, because I'm seeing something really interesting happen in my life right now where the ministry component of it all, I don't want people to follow the ministry component because I was out here bragging about some artists, you know what I mean? And not even bragging, just being honest and transparent. Like, this is what I'm doing right now, you know? And so that's why I shifted pretty heavily on my social media to like walking and talking, because I didn't want people to follow me for something that was so frivolous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So go ahead, Percy.
No, I'm saying something so fleeting, you know.
Yeah. Hey, Tone, can I share? Oh, go ahead, Percy. I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna say one thing. When you hit the top, fellas, where else is there to go?
That's another thing. So you hitting all of the hot spots that are like really high things, core value for me right now. You know, the ad is lonely at the top. And I'm like, man, I refuse. I'm going to stay where I am until I can bring everybody up with me. I'm constantly fighting to try to figure it out. And I've made mistakes and had to humble myself and go apologize to people with a broken heart. Like, like, man, I really wanted you to come along with me, but sometimes that I forget and I start going at 100 miles an hour when everybody else is like, man, I don't even know how to drive a car yet. I want to go with you. But you was like, pew! You're like, hey, let's go. And then you're like, let's go. And then you're like, pew!
Yeah.
Or the other side of the coin too, something I feel like God really put in my spirit was, you know, when you're at a race, and I posted a video, I try to do my best to really break it down, but you're at your race and you're there, and then you jump before the starting pistol go off, and you got to restart the race. And so you done left everybody, and you got to turn around and go back and start all over again. I've done that too many times in my life. And so I'm like walking like really, really, really patiently right now, and focusing on things that seem so small and minute. Like this whole platform, and I'm gonna let Patrick jump in a little bit here. I'm gonna get one more nugget from you, Jamil. And then I'm gonna let Patrick jump in and share his heart for why this is here. But my heart for why I'm here is community. And so I've been really diving deep into community, into my little region, central Pennsylvania, York, Lancaster, Harrisburg. And I'm like, there's so many people here that why do I need to go broad? But then somebody hit me and was like, dude, it's kind of ignorant that you're not going broad, that you like really only focus on your little, you being selfish and just keeping it to the little pocket of York, Lancaster, and Harrisburg. And I was like, all right, well, God told me to do this here. And so I can still share and have conversations and talk to people, but invest my funds and my resources extremely heavily here. And so I'm still praying through the whole process of like how much goes where and what stays here and what goes other places, and how to work that out and bring and partner with people. But then I get a Patrick and I get a call from a dude named James Hurley, and he hit me up and was like, man, I think you really need to look at what the Church Creative Network is doing. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna take a look at it. And then I talked to Patrick, and I'm like, man, look, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna take that little whisper, and I'm just gonna go for it. And it's been little whisper after little whisper after little whisper. But all of that said to say, Jamil,
man,
we get one last, like, what would you encourage somebody with that's like trying to be a producer that dreams about music as their living and their lifestyle and their passion?
I'm gonna share this story, and I think this will answer your question too. Going back to what Percy was talking about, how we walk low, and that is 100% the honest truth. I walk low, because, well, for a lot of reasons, but I'll share this story, and I almost didn't want to share it, but it was a season in my life where I felt like I wasn't getting the credit. And because, social media can really beat you up. If you look and you see what everybody else faking, like they've made it and they're doing this, or if they have made it, and you say, oh, I can do that too. Why am I not here? Why am I not there? And so there was some artists at the time that I was working with, and it was simultaneously, it was like a few records that I did. They were dropping like right back to back. And I was like, and nobody, not one time said anything about me, which I mass produced those records. Like, it's rarely you see a producer produce every single song on these records, and write half of them. And so there was a time where that happened. It was a season where I was strong, and not one artist said said my name, Jamel, not one of them. This is on social media, It doesn't matter if your name is on the credits. That's all that matters. Get your credentials. But what I was looking for was the pat on the back, the acknowledgement. And so I always drive in silence. I was riding into the city for whatever reason. I don't live in Chicago, but I was headed into the city, and I always drive in silence. I don't listen to any music. And I just started crying, because I felt, let down. I felt, misused. I felt unappreciated. And it hit me so bad this day. And God revealed this to me, and it just blew me away. He said, he gave me the scenario of a woman. When a woman has their child, they go and they show the world their baby. They're like, here, look at my baby. Is my baby so pretty? Blah, blah, blah. Yep. But in the hospital, in the delivery room, there's one person that is there that makes everything happen. and it's the doctor. That doctor is the most important person in that delivery room, because there's a 50% chance the mother and the child can die. And without that doctor, you don't have a baby and you don't have a life. And so God told me, he said, your job is to deliver these babies. So shut up and deliver these babies, and stop looking for credentials that don't belong to you. Like, they don't have to say your name. And that humbled me, but it also made me feel better, because now when they don't say my name, I'm cool, because I'm like, well, they don't have to, but my name is on that credit. So and then my name is getting checks. My bills are paid. I'm getting an award. You know what I'm saying? But they didn't say my name on social media. So, I mean, it really helped me. It humbled me. It really changed my focus on what I am. And so I would say to producers, do it because you love it. Don't do it because of fame, because you're going to get washed up soon. You know, everybody,
you're going to get burnt out chasing that fame.
You're going to get burnt out, and it's a never ending race, because the music changes. It changes. I'm seeing gospel music change right now, right before my eyes, you know? And so as it changes, you change, you know, if you are who you are, you know, and that's just the reality of it. And so do it because you love it. Don't do it for any other reason, you know, other than glorifying God. You know, those are the two main reasons you do what you do as a producer. And God will see that you get the desires of your heart. And that's the way I look at it. Let him do that part.
So Jamil, earlier you were talking about, and I don't know if we're gonna want to keep this part, Patrick, because it's real personal to me. You were talking about how like both you and Percy had been through some things, and I had shared with you when we first met about like the whole situation with my sister and everything like that, and how it crippled me. And then when I came back to doing the stuff with Paris, it was like my move up, and then the pandemic happened. And I've started to notice the thread of the devil really chasing and attacking. And about 4 weeks ago, I had this whisper from God in my heart to really just like the devil's always attacking, and we're always at war. I should say we're always at war. He's not always attacking. When he's not attacking, he's regrouping, because you've gotten strong in the area, and he's got to find a weakness and a hole in there. But then it was like, okay, then God was like, we have the armor of God. And so I went down and through the peace and the sword of the spirit and the faith and the truth, and wrote down like basically these like 1,500 word essays of what those meant to me, and then formed them into my own personal core values, not knowing that 3 days later my mother would be put in hospice. And so 2 days after that, I hosted a group of people in my backyard, and I was like, God was like, you just keep going. Just keep going. Don't let this take you out. Don't self-destruct like you did with your sister. You know, keep going, keep going, keep going. And I kept going through it all. My mom's in hospice. And so I'm like spreading my day out, whereas like I'm up with her in hospice, and then coming out and doing some social media, or getting up really early and starting to post stuff at 3:30 in the morning. And then knowing my mom will be around at like noon or something like that she might be awake or whatnot. But that whole thing came to a head on Friday, and I lost my mother on Friday. And I've been through all of these processes, like to get my mother to the point where tomorrow is the final service. But I'm like not canceling nothing that has kingdom priority. Like God got this ministry for me, and is like chasing it down for the sake of everybody else. And so that's why I said I might not keep that here, because it's super personal to me. And I'm not trying to say it to brag, like, oh, I'm gonna push through even though like everything is wrong, and try to prove that I'm better than somebody else, because it's not what it's about. It's the fact that I know for a matter of fact that there was an attack on my ministry and my life when my sister passed away, and there was an attack on my life when Paris passed. And because like we was going to the moon, dude, and it just frustrated me so much. And I didn't know, I was like, I can't do this without him. Like, I don't feel right doing it without him. And then even more so recently, like when my mom went to hospice, I was like, yo, I started triggering like all of the dates every 2 years. And then it was almost every year that something crazy happened in my life, that was like every moment that I got back up to being good from something happened in bed, here comes an attack. And so he knew what my default weakness was. And so I'm like, all right, more so with this, I'm like trying to trigger out not having that default weakness no more. But when you said that, man, I was like, I want to say it right now. But I told Patrick, I was like, don't talk about it when they come on, because I ain't tell them yet, because I ain't want to like overburden the conversation with something and we just be like, oh, let's just minister the tone right now. You know what I mean? Because like what we just got done talking out and pouring out there, being able to share that with so many other people, man, I'm like standing on faith that's people are going to get blessed. We're going to bless the 99 and the 1.
Yep.
So that said, I really
well,
appreciate
Tone,
time.
I'm gonna just say this, man. Like I'm speechless right now. For you to share that right now, bro, like, and your strength that you have, like, I didn't know. I knew she was in hospice, knew she was sick. You told me, but I didn't know she left. And so my heart is like going out for you right now. And I just want to commend you for making sure that you did what God asked you to do, despite losing your mother during this time. Like this is what fighting through it looks like, man. And so you taught me a huge lesson, like just now. So I'm praying for you, brother. Like I'm trying to hold back my tears because like that's his mama, man. And you know, everything would have to shut down for me. And I'm sorry. So to see you do this, bro, like a whole nother level of respect, man. So I pray that God pours into you what you've poured out to these people, man, what you sacrificed for the community, man. You sacrificed. I mean, I'm lost for words, man. I'm sorry, but my heart, I'm praying for you, brother. Like,
dude, I kept it close to the hip so that y'all wouldn't be like, you sure you want to do this today? I had to keep it close to the hip.
You know, I would have said, listen, I think we need to reschedule
this. Nope. Nah, man, we on mission, man. Like the kingdom, like, yeah, it's the kingdom, man. I had to. Yep. I got a couple more things I got to do the rest of this week, you know, and I kind of trickled it out there a little bit and real cryptically on like stories so that would go away in 24 hours. But I'm like, man, I got a couple more things to go, and then I'm going off grid for like a week straight.
Hey man, I just want to say to you, man, that I'm praying God would strengthen you, man, and He would place you around people who sometimes, man, we need people around us who will hold our arms up when in moments like this, man. And I know we're on here to talk about music and all of that, man, and that's great, and but the most important thing, man, is that I am my brother's keeper.
Right.
And because
I know that from y'all.
And because I am my brother's keeper, man, just hearing you talk about that, man, it makes you feel a kind of way, sort of kind of way, man. And,
yeah.
I lost my mother when she was 44 years old. So my mother did not live to see her grandchildren. She didn't live to see a lot of things and enjoy a lot of things, man. And so, in some regards, man, it still bothers me sometimes, because she was so young. And we trust God. We know God is sovereign, and whatever He determines and decides He wants to do, that's up to Him.
Yeah.
But the prayer that I prayed when I was going through it, because my mom was my best friend. She literally was my best friend. My dad didn't believe in music. He didn't believe in, I could make a career out of music, but my mom did. And so losing her was a big deal. But my prayer walking through it was, God, give me the strength to accept the fact that you gave me an incredible mother. And that, she gave me what I need to exist and she taught me, more importantly, she taught me about you and your love for me. And so, man, if anything I can say to you, man, is that continue to stay close to God during this season, man. And
1,000%.
some time, because as creatives and people that work in ministry, a lot of times we don't do that. We don't just take a moment to deal with our mental aspect. And mental health is just as important as our spiritual health.
Yes, sir.
No mental health, no spiritual health. So we
Wow.
got to take care of both. It's body, mind, and soul.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
It's all
I'll be preaching that on my walk talks. I'm like, it's all three, man. I've posted like what's the most important one, and it's all three. And oftentimes, if you get one right, the other two kind of fall in place with it. Yeah, that's real.
That's good, man. So you'll be in my prayers, bro.
Appreciate y'all.
Absolutely.
So hey y'all, I want y'all to meet Manny. Unmute, man. I want y'all to meet my homeboy Manny from the Bronx. He plays at a church here, one of the biggest churches here in Lancaster, not one of the biggest church here in Lancaster, and it's large on scale, but they one of them underdogs with nobody here, but they got like 30,000 members, right? Something silly like that.
Wow.
Yeah,
how many campuses?
Mega.
So we have 19. We're about to launch 2 more. So we'll be at 21 in August, and I'm the central music director.
Manny is an insane keyboard player. Like I hit Manny. Did I ask you? Like I was in a mood, man. When I found some Paris video on a hard drive of him playing at my store, and I just got real emotional. And I was like, "Well, mama died. I need somebody to come play." I was sitting there thinking of like my own little private church service. I ended up getting Brett to come do it. I was reaching out to everybody real selfishly, like, I need somebody to come play. Can you play something?
Yeah.
But yeah, so like Manny has had my back on so many different ventures. Like he came the first day that we did the event here in 2020, right before the pandemic. Him and Brett actually played drums and Manny played keys and just was doing some cool stuff that I was like, yo, I'm gonna send y'all the videos because it was unique, but he made it his own. Like, what was the jump? Because you seen Barry's wife had the shirt on. What was the
Oh, we was playing through Smells Like Teen Spirit, the Robert Glasper version.
I remember that.
I was like, yo, this dude he just took it out there. I was like, oh, that's hot. And then
What's
he was like,
your
oh, yeah, I saw her
Instagram?
shirt.
My Instagram is eSharp90.
E sharp.
Yeah.
Spell out sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm looking for you too. So let me see. E sharp
Yep.
90.
You still be waking up on Mondays and dropping them, playing along with somebody, John. Still, that's my start of my week. But today I was in another world today.
How about you already following me?
Yeah,
Me too, bro.
Y'all are legends. Y'all are legends, man.
Well, I'm following you back, man. It's always great to meet incredible people, man. And you just never know these people exist. I know Percy the same. Like we meet some incredible people that we never would have met, like some of the best people in the world are just following us already. So we missing a gold mine, man.
Yeah. And so I'm like in this headspace where I'm like, yo, I want to bring everybody into here at some point in time. But first, this fall is pushing events out and like working with local legends and then following it up with some things rather than going big. Because like when I did the joint with Paris, man, I swung like for the fence, but it felt like the Field of Dreams. It was like if you build it, nobody comes. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like we working it out a little bit different and being way more strategic. I was grateful for that 3 years of time and the pandemic outside of the folks that we lost through it all. But I was grateful for the time to really sit down and like build it in my head, imagine it, tear it up, burn it, and rebuild it again. And then say like, oh, I think I have a really solid idea that's going to work really well here. And we're going to do it like this. And so I'm looking forward to the fall and hitting. So we got the venue in Chicago. We might be doubling up with you. Trying to get Houston on the map. And if we can't get Houston on the map, I'm bringing Percy up to Chicago. Get y'all out here in the spring. And we just have a good old time, man. I just really want to share everybody gift with people. There's so much stuff out there. Like you said, there's all of these beasts out there that don't nobody even know about, and just like the information. And I'm tired of the beast not being open-handed, and I know y'all are.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So I want to first thank you both for like just even giving the opportunity to come onto this platform and sign up for the CCN and helped me champion something that I believe in, which is like community. Y'all both know I'm always have y'all back, and I'm grateful that y'all have my back, because sometimes it's not always reciprocated. And so, and I like the credit thing that you're talking about, I generally don't care if it's reciprocated, but when it is reciprocated and the relational capital is there and the relational capital grows, I mean. And so I really appreciate y'all jumping in here. And that said, I want to give Patrick the floor. So this is his baby. This is his vision. I want to give him the floor so that y'all can hear what y'all said yes to from me, because y'all know what I bring to the table. I want y'all to know where his heart is from. So Patrick, take it away, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Tone. And guys, man, I'm really humbled by your humility. It's just amazing to be a part of this, and this is what it's all about, you know. And even from that standpoint, Tone, I appreciate you sharing, you know, that this is something the Lord kind of put in my heart, but He didn't just put it in my heart. There were multiple people that were thinking in the same direction and feeling that whisper all in the same direction, you know. And even for myself, I don't want to build something for myself. Like what I get inspired by and what really makes me feel like I'm making a difference is when I'm a part of something that's way bigger than myself, you know. And I think that's part of the reason why when Tone talks about community, for me, I mean, you know, one of the ways I like to say it is, you know, I think a lot of times we're really good at being churches. We're really good at focusing in our four walls and our services, you know, and our mix and our events and our outreach and our stuff. And sometimes we struggle to be the church. You know, what does it look like? I mean, out here in our city, I could throw a rock and hit another church and probably couldn't tell you the worship pastor's name or the other technical director, the creative pastor, whoever it is. What does it take for us to just get in the same room, rub shoulders, rub elbows, learn from one another and inspire one another? And so, you know, that's one of the things that we started here in our city. Pre-COVID, we were getting together and doing what we call the round table. And so we had, you know, I mean, and it took intentionality. It took somebody sitting down saying, you know what, let's pick a place, let's pick a time, let's pick a date, let's send some emails. We're going to have to check some websites and find out who's at these other churches. Let's send some emails and get in the same room. You know what I mean? And so I'm just really, really excited and passionate about building the community in this space and being able to not just have a space where we can glean from one another, but I think it's the give and the take. It's Paul and the Timothy, because some of us, we're all at different levels in our journey. You know what I mean? And so what does it look like for us to learn from someone else, but to turn around, deposit into the next person? And so I just feel like there's so much that we have to share with one another, and having a space where we can do that, where we can kind of come under one roof, that's what it's all about. Community is where it's at.
Man, everybody have a great week. Love you.
Thank you, guys. Nice meeting you, Patrick.
See you guys same time next week, right?
Let's go.
We got more to bite into, man. This is hit the surface.
You might catch me again in a month.
Percy, I'll hit you up this week, brother.
All right,
y'all. Okay.
All right, y'all.
Later.
Thanks, everybody.
Night.